A follow-on to that, actually. I used to be, years ago, worked with developers who were providing housing in the city of Los Angeles. So lots of times there was a requirement there that a certain number of the units be dedicated to low-income housing. But I always thought that it was a very small number. I mean, you know, if you had like 100 or 200 unit development, it was like 2 or 3 units. So is there a thought that you could actually broaden that spectrum and say, you know, this many for low income, this many for like median income, because that would at least make some more available. And I'm really sensitive to the issue that the young man over there brought up about housing availability, because I think you're about the same age as my daughters. And I'm looking at what they're paying for rent now, you know, a studio, like $3,000, $3,500. And that's, you know, that's just, like you said, and a lot of people know this, there's no way that they're going to be able to afford a home here.
Yeah. So, you know, that basic idea of requiring developers to set aside a certain number of units in a housing development for low-income housing is called inclusionary housing or inclusionary zoning. It's often used as an incentive to try to you know, get developers to you know, do their fair share of addressing the lack of housing, especially for the low income and the very low income. You know, Melissa just told me that there are federal standards on that. I believe there are also there might also be state and even locally negotiated requirements. I don't know if any of our cities have experience in negotiating inclusionary housing provisions. But I think that's depending on what kind of federal or state incentives are going to a project to build affordable housing. We certainly do have that approach of trying to set, but I think if I'm hearing you right, you're saying that we should require a greater number of units to be set aside? Yeah. That's, I know that when I was on the Torrance Planning Commission and we would have discussions like that, you know, the developers, you know, whether it's a negotiating tactic or not, they'll always say, oh, you know, if you require us to do that, then the project doesn't pencil out, you know. Yeah, I think oftentimes it depends on the financing of the project, you know, to make it financially feasible.